brain associated with language are the frontal lobe, the hippocampus, the temporal lobe, the parietal lobe, Broca's area, and Wernicke's area. Broca's area is located in the frontal lobe and is responsible for converting words to speech. So a person who experiences Broca's aphasia would have difficulty completing sentences, whereas Wernicke's area is located in the temporal lobe and is responsible for converting words to concepts and concepts to words. So a person who experiences Wernicke's aphasia would have issues creating nonsense words like uttering greeple instead of fork. Second language acquisition research focuses in on 4 areas: age, influence of the first language, individual differences, and the linguistic environment. Age specifically has to do with the critical period hypothesis, which Wright says in our text is just that, a hypothesis, because there are benefits to learning a language both at a young and an older age. A younger learner might have greater motivation and opportunity to develop the second language and more instructional time, for instance, seeing the teacher every day throughout the week, and a lower affective filter, so more confidence in speaking the second language. But an older language already has literacy in their first language, which allows for positive transfer, and already possesses learning strategies to help learn the second language. The influence of the first language is transfer from the first language to the second language, and transfer can be positive or negative. An example of negative transfer would be the English speaker learning Spanish who persists in pronouncing that silent H in Spanish, even though it's silent in Spanish. Whereas positive transfer would be the Spanish speaker learning Portuguese who already understands the difference between masculine and feminine nouns. So we know that being bilingual can help you land the job when you go to a job interview, but being bilingual also causes more flexibility in your brain, which staves off dementia and Alzheimer's later in life. Bilingualism also makes you a better communicator, as you can imagine. In a study, bilingual kids or kids who had exposure to a second language were able to outperform their peers on the task of identifying the small car when they were presented with a small, medium, and large car, but told that the adult could not see the small car. The bilingual kids were able to discern that they needed to point out the medium car because the adults could not see the small car, so the medium car would be the smaller car that they could see. Language learning is overt, while acquisition is covert. Language learning involves the rules and grammar of a language and isn't communicative, whereas acquisition happens through communication, including the input that an acquirer receives. For example, a former Spanish student who knows the difference between the masculine and feminine form of the, but can't form a new, unmemorized utterance, has learned about the language but has not acquired it. The social interactionist language theory by Vygotsky encourages the teacher to use prompts, reminders, and encouragement to foster understanding, and says that interaction has affective and cognitive benefits for the learner. The social interactionist language theory prompts the question, how would others respond? So a teacher might ask a student to go delve further into their own comprehension by asking, why do you think he would do that? Or what would you have done in the same situation? This, for me, is similar to in the foreign language classroom, going beyond simply saying good job or excellent in the target language after a student gives an answer, but continuing with the conversation so that they're receiving input and finding out what a real interaction is like. The last thing I'd like to mention is that the behaviorist theory just doesn't make sense to me, because if we imitate language as we hear it, we would never be able to produce new utterances that have never yet been uttered or that we've never heard.
created using Powtoon.